Hey everyone, I'm Steve Brown with It's My Railroad, and sometimes I get sidetracked. Hey, welcome to Sidetracked. This is the place we keep stuff that doesn't exactly fit in with one of our project builds, but we wanted to share with you anyway. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. Today what I'd like to talk to you about is the basic operation of the Brown-Smith Railroad. Brown-Smith Railroad is divided up into basically 8 major jobs that get done through an entire operating session. And today I'd like to focus on the main job of the railroad, which is moving cars back and forth between Switch Junction and Port Smith. And the reason I selected this as my first operational video is I have wired up the layout to have 2 reversing loops so that I can send the trains round and round basically using a single mainline track. To do that, I've had to automate a couple turnouts, automate the reversing portion of the loops. So today what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take you on a quick journey with me through this operation of taking cars from Switch Junction to the port and back. And then next time we'll dive a little bit deeper into the functionality of the turnouts, the equipment we're using to make that happen, some of the problems we've run into in trying to get it all to work right, but come the end of the day, very happy with the way it works, and we'll share that with you next time. But as far as today's episode, let's just jump right in. We're going to pick up the story here in Switch Junction. So engine 1565, a GP7, has just pulled into Switch Junction, dropped off some empties, and is picking up some milk, some grain, some coal, some cotton, and then 2 loads of logs, and headed out for Port Smith. Now right here you see it's getting ready to get clearance to leave, and there we go, we're heading out. Coming up right about here, the train enters a auto reversing loop. This is going to switch the polarity if it's wrong, to allow for this reversing loop on a single line main. You can see the train passing by the sheriff's station, the bank, and the saloon, and even the diner. Right here the train is still on that reversing loop, but way far to the left, right when it passes the fruit distribution facility, boom, and now it's off the reversing loop. But that's really a great shot of Switch Junction. If you look there, you see some of the details of what we've done. So the 1565 now is entering right here a piece of track that's got sensors on it that'll automatically flip the next turnout to align it to receive the train. But you can see here the shay is getting cold and watered in anticipation of going back up into the mountains. Now the 1565 crosses over the Bastonjury Bridge and heads into tunnel number 1. Now tunnel number 1 is where we'll park this train normally until the train is ready for it at its destination. That's just kind of what we do going east and west. You can see that 1565 now is heading through the canyon and then heading down the summit and kind of down through the back side of the port. Again, that's a single track main line we have back there, so that's why we're doing all this auto reversing and whatnot. Now coming up here, we're going to actually select track 2 right here. This is because the train needs to go through, make a loop, come back around, and we'll show you the operation that happens after that. But that turnout that it's passing over way off to the right, you can barely see it, that one's also automated to allow for continuous operations. This is one of my favorite shots. As this train snakes through Brownsville, passes the junkyard and the creamery and whatnot. That train is right now sitting on the second auto-reversing loop that we have on the layout to allow for continuous operations, and also as a way to just turn the trains around without having to use turntables. It makes for a great piece of our operations. You see it passing there by the Alcoa S4, who's apparently doing some switching. Now the 1565 is now headed for another sensor that will trigger the turnout that follows to align itself automatically. And again, next week we're going to show you how we do that, the kind of hardware we use. But so that turnout all the way to the right behind that refrigerated milk car, that turnout has now been switched and aligned itself for that train automatically. I haven't touched anything, and see the train just passes over it. It's really a lot of fun. So we come to a halt here at the straight part of the track, and we go ahead and just cut off that caboose because we're going to need it for the trip back to Switch Junction. So the caboose has been cut. We're going to pull forward. Now, that same turnout that's automated, I'll go through on my DCC controller, select that turnout, and switch its position so that I can then back up and bring that train over and drop it off on track 2. Later on, the Baldwin VO1000 that you see sitting over there on the right, engine 5332, it'll switch all those cars and get ready and make up a new train for the 1565 to take back to Switch Junction later. So we cut off the cars, leave them on track 2, and head out. And then the turnout right there that connects track 2 and track 3, switch that turnout, bring the train back, and pick up its awaiting outbound train. Now as it pulls it forward, we need to just get forward onto the main line, switch turnout number 1 is what I call that turnout that's automated right there by the caboose, and then back the train up to pick up the caboose and then head off over to Switch Junction. And again, this is why I leave these cars on the straight piece of track. It's too hard to connect them, to couple them on the curved pieces of track. So that just plays into the overall operations. We need to leave those there where they can be easily coupled and uncoupled. Now the 1565 is heading back out of Port Smith and hits the incline. Now this is a pretty steep incline. It's not really prototypical, but it makes for some fun change. It kind of breaks things up as it heads into that canyon right there. And again, if this was normal operations, once the 1565 gets into this tunnel that is just barely out of view on the right-hand side, we would stop the train, go into Switch Junction, take the last train he dropped off, switch it around, and prepare a new train for the 1565 to pick up. But we've already kind of done that, so 1565 emerges now from the tunnel, coming in off the main line, and gets onto track 1 at Switch Junction. But here's the deal, we stopped the train short between these two turnouts to drop off the caboose, because again, we're going to need that caboose for the outbound journey back over to the port. Then that 1565 just brings the train forward and makes sure that we clear both turnouts. Then he cuts it, moves out, and then comes back and grabs the outbound train, headed over for the port. Make contact, make sure the brakes work, make sure things are cool. Then we do a pushing maneuver to push that whole train back and clamp on the and couple the caboose, and then start heading out just like we did before. That 1565 stays on the main line all the time, unless it's parked in the tunnel. Well, there you go. I hope you enjoyed this little operating session on the Brown-Smith Railroad. And I didn't show you me uncoupling the cars or flipping manual turnouts because I figure you guys have seen that sort of thing before. Don't forget to tune in next week for the second basic half of this little episode where we're going to get a little deeper into the wiring and equipment we use to automate all the stuff that you saw going on there. So, hey, listen, if you're new here and you liked this video, we've got plenty more where these came from. Just why don't you hit that subscribe button, that way you're not going to miss anything. And if you like this video, crush that like button for me. And then, of course, feel free to share this video with anybody you think might get some benefit from the information that we shared here. But other than that, I think we'll just wrap it up. My name is Steve Brown, and I will see you next time.